welcome back to our next episode of the Hormone Café. Today we're going to talk about how to improve your gut beyond drinking water and eating fiber and taking probiotics. So don't get me wrong, those things are all extremely important for your gut. We do need to be drinking around 60 to 80 ounces of water at least. We do need to be getting enough fiber, and we do need to be taking probiotics if that's what our gut needs. Not everybody needs to take a probiotic. However, there's a lot that actually goes into our gut. And so I want to go over just some things that we can do if you feel like your gut has been off for a while, or if you just have a day where your gut isn't feeling good, you feel bloated, you feel gassy. What are the things that I want you to be thinking about? So your gut is going to depend on a lot in addition to water, fiber, probiotics. Things that we think about are nervous system regulation, movement, motility, flow of bile, which is your digestive fluid into your gut, stress, your vagal tone, meal timing, and abdominal circulation. So I kind of want to go into some of those things just to give you some tips about other things that we can be doing to helping your gut. So gut health is definitely about movement. When we think about literally our intestines, so our gut, when we think about our gut, it's made up of your esophagus, so from your mouth to your stomach, and then your stomach, and then your small intestine, and then your large intestine, and your colon and your rectum. Those are all part of your large intestine. So when we think about the way that food moves from one end to the other, it literally has to move, right? Your gut has to do peristalsis, where it squeezes and squeezes and squeezes. So when your food is digesting, we literally need your gut to be moving, because a lot of symptoms can happen if food is stagnating, motility is slowing down, or your nervous system is dysregulated, because your gut is part of your parasympathetic nervous system, meaning that gut movement and digestion and gut motility happens when we are calm. If we're in fight or flight mode, right, where we're super nervous, we're anxious, we're stressed out, we haven't slept well, then our body is going to put its energy into survival mode and not necessarily digestion and gut motility. So things that we want to do in order to help our gut is some movement techniques that improve digestion. So absolute best one is moving after we eat. So if you can, if it's part of your day, I would definitely try to walk after at least one of your meals, because it improves gastric emptying. And gastric emptying is where your stomach sphincter opens and the food goes into your small intestine. And then, of course, it supports our blood sugar, right? It keeps our blood sugar down, and it stimulates our gut motility, because any type of movement, when we're increasing our circulation, we're also increasing our circulation to our stomach and our intestines, right? Because in order for the stomach and intestines to move properly, they literally need blood flow. So walking after meals has a two-part benefit of it improves our circulation and it supports our blood sugar. It does not have to be a lot. Even 10 minutes helps. My favorite things are twisting movements, because twisting can really help your intestines get out a little pocket of gas, that kind of a thing, because your small intestine is 30 feet long. That's a lot of stimulation that needs to be happening to get food all the way from one end to the other. So my favorite things to do are just twisting movements, where we're literally doing mechanical things to help our gut move things through. So seated spinal twist is one of my favorite, where you sit down and then twist your spine from one side to the other, or supine twist, right? If we're laying on the ground, we can also move our legs and our arms back and forth from one side of the floor to the other. And that really helps our gut motility. And it's something that you can do if you're just sitting at your desk and you feel like food's a little bit stagnant or you're a little bit bloated. Just sit in your chair and then twist your spine from one to another. And a lot of people intuitively twist or stretch when they're bloated, because it literally helps move that bit of gas through, or that bit of food. If you really want to do it a little bit more advanced, it does help to do yoga, because moving in the different yoga positions can really help, number one, get blood flow to your gut. And then number 2, be in positions that literally help the food move through better. So things that can be helpful are rotating between things like child pose and then cat-cow, and then lay down and do your happy baby and roll from side to side, and then also add in your twists and then add in knees to chest. Because one thing that's helpful about that is, number 1, we're doing the literal physical movements and changing positions so that our food can move through. Number 2, we're giving more blood flow to our gut. Number 3, it helps us calm down and be in that parasympathetic space. Because if we're super anxious, we're super nervous, then our gut is not going to get the blood flow that it needs. And then in yoga, it's very powerful to do diaphragmatic breathing, where we breathe from our diaphragm instead of breathing from our chest. Instead of your chest moving when you take a deep breath, your abdomen should move. And that motion of our abdomen when we're doing our diaphragmatic breathing can also help our gut motility. Another one of my favorite movements to do when my gut is off is to do jumping, which sounds like kind of a lot, but if you already have a trampoline or you have a mini trampoline, that can be really helpful, because trampolining is actually really helpful for your lymphatic drainage, for example. But just jumping or bouncing, literally just standing in place, jumping for 5 minutes or doing jumping jacks for 5 minutes, that gentle, low impact compression can really help move food through your gut. So, but my 2 favorite things to do when my gut is feeling off is to do a little bit of spinal twists. And if I can, I'll do a little bit of yoga, and then I'll literally do jumping jacks or make myself jump for a couple minutes, because then I feel it really helps move the stool through my gut. So those 3 things combined are just a great way to constantly keep blood flow to your gut, help your gut compress its food and have peristalsis and push it from one end to the other. And then just to keep your nervous system regulated so that your body will spend time in digestion. And then other things that I highly recommend for just general gut motility support, you, of course, always want to be having some kind of fiber, but you do have to have a little bit of a personalized fiber plan, because sometimes more is not better, right? A lot of people, if they start eating a ton of fiber overnight, then it actually can really backfire and really, really bloat you. Because if you think about your gut microbiome, the bacteria are going to grow based on what you've been eating, right? So if you eat a lot of sugar, you're going to grow a lot of bacteria in your gut that can consume sugar. If you don't eat a lot of fiber, then you're not going to have a lot of the types of bacteria in your gut that consume fiber. So if all of a sudden overnight you eat a ton of fiber, you literally do not have enough bacteria to break down that fiber, and then you're going to feel way bloated and way worse. So whenever we're making changes, just make sure you do it gently and not overnight. So for example, when we're introducing fiber, we just want to introduce one new vegetable at a time, that kind of a thing. So my other favorite things to do, ginger is very, very excellent for your gut motility. I really like doing ginger tea. I just find that it's an easy way, but some people will either grate ginger or eat pickled ginger or do ginger chews or ginger lozenges. So if you are having a day where you feel a little bit bloated or gassy, especially if that's associated with some nausea, then tea can be amazing. Also, just the warmth of ginger tea can also help stimulate some of your gastric emptying and help your stomach clear. So whether it's capsules, fresh ginger slices, ginger tea after meals, it's one of my favorite things to do after lunch or after dinner is have a cup of ginger tea. Another thing that's really important is to space your meals. So if you're like me and you used to be a snacker or a grazer, sometimes I just feel like I didn't have time to sit down and eat lunch, and then I would just eat my lunch, snack throughout the whole day. Turns out that's actually not great for your gut, because your gut actually needs time to push certain food from digestion mode in your stomach, then into small intestine mode, then into large intestine mode. So if we're just constantly feeding it, feed, your stomach constantly has to be emptying. Where what you want is that your stomach is digest, empty, nutrients get absorbed through the large and small intestine. Digest, empty, nutrients get absorbed. So what's actually way better for your digestion is to have 3 or 4 hour gaps between meals. This is good for your blood sugar, we know, but it's actually also truly good for your digestion. And then we want to also avoid late night snacking, because right before we go to bed, unless you're a person who needs a high protein snack before you go to bed to sustain your blood sugar through the night, which is the case with some people, you want to try not to eat, or you don't want to eat a lot right before you go to bed, because that can keep you awake, because digestion actually requires a lot of energy from your body. And what we really want to be doing is calming our body down and not having it use a lot of its energy overnight. Because when we're sleeping, we want our body to be repairing our cells and helping with that oxidative stress and mitochondrial support. So at night when we're sleeping, we want to be doing cellular repair. We don't want to necessarily be doing digestion, because digestion requires a lot of energy, and we want our energy needs to go down when we're sleeping. So meal spacing is also just an underrated thing to do. Like if your digestion is a bit off, just make sure you space out your meals and try to get 3 to 4 hour gaps between meals and see how that feels. My other kind of favorite thing is magnesium can be really helpful, especially magnesium citrate, because it can help with getting water into our colon. And so if you're just having a day where you're feeling really constipated or backed up, it's helpful to take 200 to 600 milligrams of magnesium citrate. And if you are a person who doesn't like to take pills, magnesium can come as a powder or as a liquid. So sometimes people will make themselves a little bit of a hot tea at night before they go to bed, and then they'll put some magnesium in there to get their bowels going. Or in the morning, if you're a person who doesn't go have a bowel movement right away in the morning, it can be helpful to put a little bit of magnesium powder in a drink just to set your day up for success and make sure that you have good bowel movements throughout the day. Another thing that I really like to do, or I recommend that people do, is to do castor oil packs. So I would say castor oil is one of those things where it works well in some people, it doesn't work well in some people. If you're a person who is bloated and gassy a lot, castor oil can be really helpful because of the warmth, the relaxation, the parasympathetic activation, or the abdominal circulation and blood flow, and the stress reduction can really help move some of those foods through, move some of that gas through. So how you use castor oil is usually you buy actual castor oil and then you put it on a cloth and then you put it over your stomach, and then it's helpful to use it with a little bit of heat, so a heating pad, and then you just lay there and you rest for about 30 to 60 minutes. And then you want to make sure that you're giving enough time for the castor oil to help in that warming effect and that calming effect, improve the circulation to your colon. So if you're somebody who runs constipated or you've got a lot of bloating, castor oil can help you. It also helps if you have menstrual cramping and you have cramps when you're on your period, or you don't have great bowel movements when you're on your period. The castor oil can help the cramps and the bowel movements. So that can be something to try if you're a person who doesn't feel great around your period from a bowel perspective, or you still feel constipated and bloating and you've tried some other things and it hasn't quite worked. The other thing that you want to think about, which we touched on earlier, is your nervous system and digestion, because it's so important. You cannot heal your digestion if you're in chronic fight or flight. And we want to make sure that your all of your nervous system is in a calm state at certain points, because that will definitely help your digestion. A lot of people have anxious bowels, where if they're really anxious or really stressed, they'll naturally notice that their gut doesn't work as well. And that's because when you're anxious, it increases your cortisol levels, and that literally changes your gut microbiome. And we want to make sure that our gut microbiome is healthy and nourished. So if you're a person who you're going to have a hard day, or you're kind of worried that you're going to have an anxious day, you do literally want to build time in your schedule to make sure that you have some calm and some peace And whether that's yoga or meditation or reading a book or sitting there for 30 minutes, reading a book and doing your castor oil packs, having a little bit of magnesium, having some ginger tea, because you really do need periods of calm throughout your day, literally to support your digestion. And if we can plan for that, it's really helpful. For example, if you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have this super packed day, it's going to be totally crazy. You really want to schedule time in your day to just have a little bit of self-reflection, have a little bit of calmness so that you can make sure that your digestion is not going to get thrown off for your entire day and that you don't have an anxious gut or difficult bowel movements all day. So things that we want to think about are eating slowly, because that can also help our digestion. So we don't want to just be scarfing food really, really quickly. And then deep breathing, because remember that diaphragmatic breathing helps blood flow to our gut. We want to try some mindfulness techniques, meditation, yoga, just to make sure that we are giving our parasympathetic nervous system some time to take over. And that's where our body's going to do the best digestion. So other things that we want to think about that also kind of sabotage our gut health. We talked about chronic stress. We want to stay, of course, away from ultra processed food. So if there's food that's in a package, just make sure that you turn around, look at the back, know what all the ingredients are. And then we want to stay away from constant snacking. We do want to have like a full breakfast, a full lunch, maybe a bigger snack in the afternoon, a full dinner. Get those 3 to 4 hour fasting windows so that our stomach literally has time to empty and our food has time to digest. We do want to be moving our body. If we can walk after meals, 10 minutes, even if it's just a teeny tiny bit, right? You eat lunch, you walk around your office a little bit, you sit back down. That can be really, really helpful. And then another thing that I want to mention is that we also don't want to overuse probiotics. Probiotics can be wonderful, but if you think about a probiotic, it has certain species. So most probiotics are a whole bunch of species of lactobacillus and maybe a bunch of species of often something called bifidobacteria. But if your body and your gut already have a bunch of lactobacillus and bifidobacteria, now you're just overgrowing your gut microbiome because you're taking a probiotic and you're increasing something that's already high. So it is helpful to have your gut tested and know what your gut microbiome is so you know what the right probiotics are. And then you also don't want to be on a probiotic for a really long time, right? You want to rotate probiotics and you want to rotate the species. And in a perfect world, you want to tailor them to your gut. So if you're having an off gut, I wouldn't just instantly go to a probiotic. I would do a lot of other techniques too, right? Like drink your tea, have your magnesium, calm your body down at certain points of the day, do your twisting motions, incorporate walking into your day, make sure that you're healing your gut from a lot of different angles. So you just want to make sure that movement, rhythm, nervous system regulation, circulation, and most importantly, consistency are part of your routine so they can help your gut other than just eating food, drinking water, eating a bunch of fiber. So practical challenge for this week, I want you to just pick 1 or 2 of those things, and I want those to be your go-tos if you're either feeling like your gut is off that day or your gut has been off chronically. In addition to what you eat and the water that you drink, I want you to incorporate 1 new thing into your routine every single day. Whether that's you drink a ginger tea daily right after you eat lunch, you go on a 10-minute walk after one of your meals, you decide that you're going to skip one of the snacks and space your meals 4 hours apart. Pick one of those things and just incorporate that into your life so that we can keep your gut healthy from all angles. So if your gut has been chronically off, you feel constipated, bloated, gassy, you have looser stools, diarrhea, you ever think during your day like, ooh, my gut's a bit off, please do not hesitate to reach out. We love working with patients and their gut because the gut is so essential to your overall health. So never ever give up on your body. I want you to feel your best, healthiest self every single day, and that is a part of it. So if you have a day where you're not feeling so great, incorporate some of these techniques into your life so that we can have an amazing gut every day. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Hormone Café. We can't wait to have you check in. Stay tuned for our next episode.